Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen, other pairs will be analyzed today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video, as I do have a bonus pair in store. No new trades for myself to report on. Very choppy week in general. I was looking at a lot of USD and yen pairs, but didn't quite see the pullbacks I wanted to. And in fairness, a lot of the USD pairs are quite choppy as well. So they're taking new positions. However, if things can speed up, hopefully the following week could be a lot better, especially if the yen pairs do continue to fall. Might be some nice pullbacks to keep an eye on there. But in terms of the DXY, which we'll get to first, and then we'll go to the analysis shortly afterwards, of course, timestamps below, feel free to pick which pair you want to skip ahead to, or of course watch the whole thing if you want to, which is highly advised. But yeah, moving on to the DXY. So things are very choppy here. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see that generally speaking, we've been incredibly flat for the past few weeks, couple of months here. We haven't really gone anywhere. Of course, if I zoom out and look at the bigger picture, there's still kind of a big uptrend there. So that does keep me bullish for the dollar overall, because the trend hasn't necessarily reversed yet. But we are seeing some signs of things slowing down. Also, this high here, very strong push to the upside. However, we came falling flat on our face this week, and we had a very bearish move as well. We haven't quite taken out these lows yet. We haven't taken out the highs yet. So the market is stuck within this range. And I need price to either go and take out the highs or take out the lows to get some clarity in the next leg I'm looking for. If we do take out the lows, I'll be looking at something like this for another lower high and a push down, perhaps a reversal of the bullish trend. If you see price, of course, take out the highs, that reinstates the bullish trend, show that buyers are back in control. Then I'm looking for pullbacks, another higher low, so on and so forth. So that's really what I'm waiting for. Again, I'm not looking to trade any opportunity I can find. I'm looking for good opportunities, and I'm waiting for a strong bias. Right now, I'm kind of weakly bullish with the DXY. However, looking at the more intraday price action, especially this move here, because we had a big impulse up, big impulse down, this typically does mean more downside. There's kind of like an inverse V-shaped pattern, very strong impulse. Looking at this as kind of a correction of that impulse. So I do fancy a bit more downside for the DXY actually next week. Basically the continuation of that bearish move from this week. So this looks like the correction of that. Perhaps as we push back into this area, we might find some resistance, some supply, and possibly sell off. So that could be a nice intraday opportunity to look at. But when things are quite choppy, you got to focus more on the lower time frames, whilst the higher time frames kind of clean themselves out. So that's what I'm favoring for next week. But in terms of the bigger picture, still waiting for a bit more information. As I said, waiting for those highs or lows to be taken out. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at for Euro USD as well. So as you can see for Euro, if I zoom out a little bit, overall very choppy price action. Yes, there is a higher time frame bearish trend at play, which is again what keeps me overall bearish for Euro. But again, looking at the price action currently, things are very choppy. We didn't quite take out the highs, didn't take out the lows, so again still stuck in this range here. Is price going for a bigger pullback? Are we still looking to continue? Things are getting quite choppy with this bearish trend as well, which gives signs that maybe we're running out of steam, maybe we are going to push the upside as well. So I don't really have that 100% clarity with Euro as well either. So in terms of getting involved, I'm kind of staying away from trades. Like I said, if price can take out the highs next week, great. I'll be looking for the next high low for some buys. If price can take out the lows next week, great. I'll be looking for the next lower high for some sells. And hopefully we have some more momentum in the market. Maybe we might see some continuation of the momentum from NFP on Friday. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. However, in terms of the intraday price action, again, if we're going to see DXY have a move down, which we just mentioned, then that means Euro USD most likely will have a move up. And this is kind of like a similar correction we're looking at for a continuation to the upside. Now, I wouldn't look to try and take buys here as we drop to the hourly chart. I don't think this is a very high probability buy since the market's still forming lower highs, sorry. So, and haven't really taken out any key structure as well to the upside on the hourly chart. So I would wait for price to show me that continuation, breakthrough highs. At least at this point, we've got some bullish structure to work with. So low, high, higher low, higher high. Then the next pullback after that will be a lot more attractive to take and a lot more high probability as well. I can probably look to target the highs down the left at 1.052. So something like this will become a nice opportunity to look at for next week, perhaps a breaking retest of the high there. Of course, it depends how we set up, but something like that could look good intraday. For euro, if we do see a strong push to the upside, dollar makes a strong push down, then there's a good chance we probably will go and attack the highs there, and that becomes a nice kind of intraday trade to look at. But in terms of the bigger move, bigger swing, don't really have anything to talk about really for Euro USD, so I'm staying very neutral. Intraday, there might be a nice bullish opportunity there, but in the bigger picture for now, it's still a little bit flat, so waiting for momentum to pick up. But yeah, Euro USD longs above that high, looks good, back to the high there, and we'll go from there next week. That is the plan for Euro USD. Okay, so next up we've got dollar yen. So dollar yen, I've actually become a bit more bearish on this one. Of course, I'm pretty bearish on pretty much all other yen pairs. However, dollar yen have been pretty bullish. However, since we had a really strong move to the downside this week, breaking through my area of confluence, I said I was looking for longs of this area. Had some nice fib levels coming to that area as well, fib the 0.5 of the fib. However, I didn't see my entry price action, so I stayed out the trade. And of course, price has since broken through that level pretty aggressively. And since we're starting to show some consistency with some lower lows and lower highs, as we can see on the 4-hour chart, and especially with the last bearish leg there, really showing a lot of momentum, we have since left behind a really nice, healthy area to look too short from. And that's really what I'm looking at for dollar yen. Now, in terms of the overall trend, we are still seeing higher highs and higher lows. So we are technically going against this bullish structure, but since we failed to hold that area of confidence, that has given me a sign that potentially we might be looking at a bigger bearish move and potentially a reversal. Of course, that's not confirmed until we take out this low, but I wouldn't mind getting into some counter trend opportunities on the retest of those areas, at least taking some shorts back into the prior low on the 4-hour chart. For example, if we do get a pullback into this area, if I can catch a short back into that area, that would be a lovely trade. Doesn't need to be the full swing, breaking through those lows, which could be the bigger move at play, but we'll wait and see. So in terms of dollar yen, very bearish on this one, at least on the 4-hour chart. Higher time frames still do have that bullish bias because we haven't taken out that low, so I have to be careful with that. But since we are pretty consistent with these lower highs, looking for the next one, and a retest of that area would be great. Really strong breakout, haven't come back for a retest yet. That's really a nice confluence when price has a strong break of level and hasn't yet retested the level. If we do come back for the retest, there's a good chance for a reaction. Pretty sure lines up pretty well from 0.618 of the fib. Yes, it does. So that would just be a healthy area to short from. But since we are pretty bullish on the higher time frames, or at least haven't taken out major lows yet, I would just look for just a push back to the low. You can always leave some positions to run, but even that looks like a good trade within itself. Positive risk to reward, maybe 1 to 2, 1 to 3, maybe even more as well, depending on your entry. But that will be the trade idea for next week for dollar yen. Okay, so in terms of dollar CAD, I'm actually pretty bearish on dollar CAD. We had a really strong rejection this week. We actually gapped up. Of course, every market kind of had a gap this week, but we gapped up into a really big level, which is the same level I've been talking about for a while now for dollar CAD. Major resistance here on the weekly chart, once over there, twice over there. As you can see, we've rejected that area very aggressively this week as well. So I'm looking for a bit more downside. We still do have this massive level on the weekly chart here as well underneath us. Potentially could see price come back and retest that area. Again, we've had a really long-term consolidation here for USD CAD. Price has been dancing up and down between these levels, and I'm looking at it in terms of we had a bit of a fake to the upside. Again, taking a lot of liquidity above the highs there, and now that we have done that, now potentially the bigger move is going to be to the downside, because of course if price fakes to go one way, it's to potentially move in the opposite direction. So if we faked out traders in the wrong direction there, taking out liquidity or taking trapping some buyers who look to follow the momentum, and now we come down very impulsively as well, which is a key characteristic. You know, if we're going to fake in one direction, if it is a fake out, we tend to impulsively move back in the opposite direction, which we saw there as well. And given the fact that we're rejecting such a big level in the weekly chart as well, it does stack a lot of confluence pointing in the direction to the downside. So I'm expecting price to sell off. Now, we haven't really broken through this support level here yet, so I'm looking to see if price can get the breakout of that support level, look for some corrections, perhaps the retest of the level, then find some shorts to that big weekly level we just mentioned back at 1.4. Or if price does hold support and we do push to the upside, we can also look to try and anticipate the high forming at the top of the range again. Let's see if the market can respect it, and that could be a really nice place for a short as well, which could provide some really nice trades in terms of risk to reward should we get the bigger move. But again, if price is faked to go one way, we expect price to now follow through in the opposite direction. So I do expect to see a lot more downside and see that support break. And then it'll be my job to see if I can find some pullback shortly afterwards and ride that momentum. But yeah, that is my outlook on dollar CAD. So keep an eye on the breaking test of 1.428, a retest of 1.45, and then some shorts towards 1.4 will be the plan for next week. Okay, so over to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, I've been pretty bullish on this one because we're still trading that monthly level of support, looking for buys, but still yet to really see that momentum come into the market as I've been looking for. Had that original break to the upside, but being very, very corrective, and now we've had a really big sell-off to the downside. I did say I was looking for the break and retest of this level, however, didn't really see price react to the level how I wanted to, so I did stay out the market. It looks like price is kind of just reacting to that overall consolidation there, acting like a big area of demand. Nice reaction, but still very corrective. It does look like this is just a correction in terms of this bearish move, and the odds of us taking out this low look to be pretty high. So that's kind of the move I'm favoring next week. Now, it might just be a push back to the low, maybe to this low here, and the bigger move still may be to the upside. We're still trading in that monthly level of support. So overall, I am bullish in this area, but I'm not really seeing a good swing setup at the moment. If I drop to the weekly, you can still see the overall weekly trend is still pretty bearish, with all these consecutive lower highs at play as well. So this well could be another lower high in that sequence, and maybe price does want to go rake to the downside. We'll have to wait and see. I'm waiting for that swing trade to take the buys. Like I said, the setup isn't quite there yet. I was looking for the retest of that level there last week, didn't really plan out, and the buy might develop, and maybe in a week or two might be looking good. I'll be talking about some break and retest and some buys and so on and so forth. However, that's not quite the reality just yet. At the moment, the market still looks pretty bearish, and I do still favor more downside for next week. So I would say a bit more of an intraday play for Euro Pound or intra-week play. I think if we can look at the lower time frames here, based on how price is looking, it does look like we'll probably come back to these lows. So there's kind of two setups I'm looking at on the hourly chart, where the price pulls back into that consolidation or back into that high. Either which way, a nice pullback does look good for Euro Pound for a retest and some shorts, whether it's at the consolidation or at the swing high. Maybe we pinch the high a little bit, but overall looking for some more downside. Euro Pound's been a very choppy pair, but all that bullish momentum we had a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, it's pretty much vanished from the market, and now we're still seeing heavy momentum to the downside. We tried to push with this move from the Bank of England. However, again, that momentum failed as well. So it looks like we're probably going to go and take out these lows. And again, once we do that, maybe we start to see the bullish price action I've been looking for. Then we can, of course, analyze that the following week or whenever it happens. But for now, things are still looking pretty bearish. So if you're looking to trade Euro Pound, at least from a shorter term point of view, I think shorts look pretty good back to the low at 0.829 for next week. Okay, so over to Aussie dollar. So very choppy price action. It looks like we're forming potentially a bit of a bottom, or at least the market is pausing. If it does want to continue, this looks like a bigger consolidation, because let's not forget we've been trending to the downside for a while. So it potentially might be price forming a bit of a consolidation for a bottom and then a reversal. It could, of course, be a consolidation for a continuation, but based on where we're trading the higher time frames, I do favor a push to the upside. And again, even if it's just a retracement for price to continue down, which is still kind of what I'm expecting. But you can see zoomed out, as the daily chart, where we're trading massive swing low here, big move to the upside, which is why I'm looking for a push to the upside. But in truth, I'm not really looking to trade Aussie dollar until we start to commit in either direction. So if price does break to the downside, of course, I will scrap that that retracement bias or that bullish bias I have for Aussie dollar, and I'll be looking for shorts happily, because all I'm looking for is trend. I'm looking for continuation, momentum in a given direction, and then looking to continue that. That's really what I'm looking for right now. We've got momentum to the downside, but now it's pausing at a very critical low. So there's a good chance we might push to the upside. So really what I want to see is price, like I said, break the high or break the low with some momentum, and then look for continuations afterwards. So if you can do that, break to the upside, take out the highs there, basically we'll be looking at the pullback of that move and looking for some longs, and then maybe start talking about some shorts on the way back down. There are some daily levels on our left over here which we've been talking about, and of course the low here as well. So those are some areas we could get to before maybe continuing that bearish trend. Equally, if we do break to the downside and take out these lows again, it needs to be a strong move for me to be looking to short, because the fact that we are still corrective is putting me off shorts right now. And since we've been trending to the downside for a while as well, it needs to be a very strong move and healthy corrections for me to be looked to short. If we do go and do that, but of course I'm still going to be open to that idea. But yeah, Aussie dollar, I'm favoring some upside. I do have at least a short-term bias to the downside for the DXY as well. So if dollar's going to be weak for at least a few days, that could probably help Aussie dollar at least push to the upside as well. So the opportunity I'm looking for hasn't quite set up yet because we're still stuck in the range. But this is kind of what I'm looking for: the break of the high, pullbacks, high lows, and then more upside. And then maybe you can start to talk about some sells the following week or the week after. So yeah, that's the plan for Aussie dollar going into next week. Okay, so over to NZD CAD. So still looking pretty bearish. We're still obeying that bearish channel. If I connect the highs there, as you can see, high over there, lower high, you can just highlight them. So high, lower high. This one didn't quite test the trend line, but still another lower high in the market. And looks like we've done that again, especially with the gap to the upside there. Probably did a good job of taking out some stop losses, but now momentum is kicking back in and I'm expecting a push back to that low. Simply just a continuation of that bearish trend, but more importantly, a push back to this daily support level, because again, we've broken out of this larger bullish structure on the daily chart. We've taken out these lows, so now I'm expecting us to at least get back to that low and possibly break through that low as well. Higher time frames, weekly, monthly, still look overly bearish there, so I think it's a pretty good job we actually go and take out those lows, but we can talk about that for another day. At least for next week, looking for a push back to the low there. Nice little pullback this week, retesting that consolidation there for continuation. And I think, again, if you're looking to get involved, the shorts over there have kind of left the station. So the next best opportunity would be some more kind of shorter term plays on the lower time frames. If you can break through the lows here as well, then I'll be looking for some more pullbacks, possibly the retest of that low there. Just basically the exact same pattern as we got here. Lovely double top, creates a neckline, breaks, retest, nice double top there ish, and it just about missed the high. But again, the market isn't perfect, but then of course breaking through that neckline leaves behind a healthy area to short from as well, and that could be a really nice short on the hourly or even lower as well to really refine that risk. And again, at least the push back to the prior low. If you pull back from there, for example, that could be a good target. Or if you want to stretch trade a little bit further, we do have the 4-hour swing low. You can look to target there as well. But the key thing is that we're still seeing really nice momentum to the downside with these bearish legs. And we had another one there as well. So if you can see price break for the low, because of course we could potentially bottom here and push back up again, which is not something we want to see. We want to see price continue to break through the lows, and then we can start to look for pullbacks with a bit more confidence and expect eventually a push back to the prior low there as well. So still looking at more downside for New Zealand CAD, and looking for some pullbacks on the retest 0.81112. But very, very important, we do break through the lows there. We don't want price bottoming out the lows, because that's not a sign of bearish continuation. So let's break through the lows first, pullbacks afterwards, and then expecting a push back down to 0.8, and that is the plan next week for New Zealand CAD. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So missed out on some buys this week. Lovely consolidation. Was looking for the retest of the consolidation for some more upside, which we did see, just not on the area I was looking to enter. In fact, it happened right at the start of the week, so would have been difficult to catch anyway. But I said I was looking for the retest of the consolidation for some buys. Fortunately, didn't quite see that. On the higher time frames, we still do have the higher highs and higher lows. Market's been pretty consistent with all these high lows on the daily chart, so the plan has just been looking for continuations of that. However, things are starting to change. We're starting to form some lower highs. We're starting to become a little bit more bearish, so I'm no longer looking for the buys as I was last week. Looking at the price action on the 4-hour chart as well, I know now it looks like we're coming back for the retest of the range, but the opportunity is not looking nowhere near as good as it was last week. The fact is we put a strong low here at the start of the week, really strong push to the upside, giving us some new highs over here. But of course, as we can all see, we've gone and just broken through those lows. So even if we do have a reaction here, I don't expect it to be a big one. And I'm actually looking for price to return back to support, back down here at 2.17. Maybe from here, we do go and put that higher low in and push to the upside. But since we failed to show continuation of this bullish leg and pretty much reverse on the dime, as soon as that candle closed, we failed to break through the highs there, and we just completely reversed. So next week, I do expect more downside, back to at least retest support again. Then we'll go from there. Maybe we do bounce, maybe we break through. We'll analyze that next week. So again, a bit more of an intraday opportunity. Price being pretty consistent with these lower highs, as we can see here. And I would suggest the price can come up, retest the high down the hourly chart. That'd be a really nice place for a short. Might be a really nice double top there, and the continuation back at least into the lows here. Of course, that's obviously got to be the first target, but like I said on the 4-hour chart, I do expect us to fall a little bit further as well. But really strong break of structure here on the left, and we're seeing really strong momentum in these bearish legs too. So that does give me some confidence that pound NZD is likely to continue falling. And then, as I said, we can probably talk about some longs maybe the following week at that level if we do respect it. But yeah, pound NZD did look like we were going to see some continuation at the start of the week. Momentum completely flopped there, and we've just gotten broken through the lows. So expecting a bit more downside back into 2.17. Keep an eye on the retest of the high there at 2.195. A bit more of an intraday setup, probably better suited for maybe the hourly chart or the 30-minute chart for entries. But again, really nice trade in general, and expecting a push back down to 2.17 next week. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So I'm still pretty bearish on this one overall. Again, the idea is still looking for the continuation of the bearish leg last July, and I still do see a push back down into this support level. It's just that we're taking our time. So looking to find entries to short this one, and what I am looking at is potentially trying to catch the next lower high, but I do need to see a bit of a bullish move to get to those highs first before looking to short. Main reason is because we're kind of trading in some support at the moment, back at these lows. Not the best time, at least from a swing point of view, to be looking for entries, at least when you're looking to sell anyway. So I don't need price to kind of pull away from that, find resistance again, find a lower high, and coming back to retest that area there with this trend line there as well, basically trying to find the next lower high would be the best spot, because again I can get decent stop loss above the high, and of course increase my risk reward, and of course I'm not directly selling into support. So that's the idea I'm looking at for CAD Yen. I'm still keeping one eye on the longer term short if we do have a really big pullback, which is all the way back retesting the high up there. If price does respect support here, maybe forms a big double bottom, there is that possibility for a really big bullish move back to the highs here, where again I will look for have a try to short this one if I see my my confirmations met. We'll be looking for a really big swing all the way back down into those lows there as well. But of course, this is the more kind of immediate trade to be focusing on. And if we do not hold that level, we start breaking through, I will be looking at 111.5 up there. But yeah, very bearish on pound yen, CAD yen. We're not getting to pound yen just yet. Very bearish on CAD Yen. Overall direction is still very much down. We're trading at support. We're kind of still rejecting it as well. So the possibility of that bullish move is looking good, but of course we may just break through. If that's the case, I'm not really interested anyway. We do need to pull back for me to find my entries. But again, like I said, the overall idea is looking for that high, whether it's going to be at this 107.920 level or 111.5. It's up to the market, but looking for shorts back down to 103.5. next week for CAD Yen. Okay, so over to pound USD. So pound USD, things are still looking pretty bearish for this one, which is ironic because I'm still kind of expecting a bit of downside for USD next week, which of course should push pound USD up. But potentially if pound is just very weak, weaker than the dollar, of course, we could still see a move to the downside. I look at the daily chart, things still look pretty bearish here. We've taken out some key structure on the left, taken out some lows here as well. I haven't quite taken out this low here yet, but at the moment we still do have a pretty comfortable bearish trend. Still seeing, completely missed the high there. Still seeing lower lows and lower highs, and potentially this could be the next one. And if that is the case, we could be seeing a push back to the low there at 1.21. So still very, very bearish on pound USD in the higher time frames. Momentum still with the bears as well. Formed a bit of a double top this week, respecting the high, which was an opportunity I was mentioning on the weekly analysis. I decided not to take the opportunity because it wasn't very clean, especially with the way we pulled back as well. So I decided to stay out. Looks like it's playing out pretty well so far, but we'll see if that does continue. Again, if this is going to continue, then you would expect the trend to take us back to the low there. So still a fair bit of a way to go. But what I would say on the intraday level, that there could be some nice shorts if we do continue to take out these lows. So that with the double top up there, which price is respecting. Of course, this was NFP. If price does continue to break lows again, there could be some nice pullbacks on the intraday time frame, at least back to the low here. Of course, you can try and shoot for the bigger target down at the lows there, but this is definitely something to keep a close eye on. But as you can see, really strong momentum to the downside. This may just be the correction of that, and if you can see next week price breaking through the lows again, looking for the next correction could be a really nice opportunity on an intraday level, at least back down to that low there. We'll see if we can go further. But yeah, pound USD to me looks pretty bearish. I'm still seeing lower lows and lower highs. Momentum still look pretty bearish. Might not be the cleanest chart or cleanest trend in the world, but on the hourly time frame, we are still seeing some decent pace, some decent momentum to these bearish legs. So if that can continue, break through some new lows, I do think some shorts on some pullbacks will look good, and at least a push back to that low there makes a load of sense. And the possibility of leaving positions to run, knowing that the higher time frame trends in your favor as well, back to this low looks good too. So you can really maximize the opportunity should we really fully continue. But yeah, pound USD still looks pretty bearish to me. I'd keep an eye on the break and resets to the low. Again, a bit more of an intraday opportunity because higher time frames are still a little bit choppy here, at least in this area here for pound. And we're not trading at the highs as well, so it's difficult to find a nice swing entry in these areas. So playing a bit more intraday and targets to that low make a lot of sense. So that is the plan next week for pound USD. Okay, so now on to pound CAD. So it looks like we are seeing another reaction off that high as we were looking for this week. Price has been pretty bullish the past couple of weeks, seen some nice upside, but we talked about price failing at this level multiple occasions. Yes, we're in a uptrend, but there are some signs that potentially this uptrend may be looking to end, or at least potentially have a bigger pullback. The fact that we respected the highs on numerous occasions, 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5. And again, we've seen some really heavy bearish legs to the downside as well. We are seeing signs that this trend potentially could look to reverse. And again, another reaction. So looks like price is probably going to push back to the low here. Essentially, we do have a bit of a range, equal highs, equal lows. This is the midpoint. I did say some shorts look good back into the midpoint of the range. Now looks like we're breaking through that as well. So we may be pushing back to the low here at 1.75. So I think in terms of opportunities this week, just kind of lower time frame corrections and continuations make the most sense. Back into the low, perhaps there might be some nice buys again next week back down at that low, but probably for the first half of the week, or maybe even most of the week, you're probably looking at just lower time frame corrections and just looking for shorts, another lower high, and more downside, just as we've been doing since the reaction. Big reaction up there, as we can see. Then the market has been putting some nice lower highs. Pound's been pretty weak as well, so that's helped in terms of momentum. But yeah, I'll be expecting more downside. So if you can look at the lower time frames, try and pick those lower highs, maybe on the hourly chart, maybe even lower as well. In terms of targets, looking for a push back down to 1.75. Perhaps we can talk about a bounce there. In terms of a bigger swing, I'm looking for us to go and break structure, because at the moment, if I go to the daily chart, at the moment we're kind of just trading in the range, so I'm not really interested in price there. But if we can see a clear breakout of the lows, that tells me that okay, this is probably the high of that trend. Looking for the next lower high for some more downside, and that becomes a really nice swing to look at. But in the meantime, still expecting more downside to at least get to the low of the range first, and some intraday opportunities. Shorting that is probably the best play for next week. So that's the plan for pound CAD next week. Okay, so over to pound yen. I'm pretty bearish on this one. Looks like we're starting to pick up momentum to the downside, breaking through numerous lows. You've taken out those lows. Looks like we've just about taken out those lows as well. And I do still see a lot more downside. If I zoom out to the daily chart, you can see we do have this massive bearish leg there from last July. And I'm looking to see the continuation of that back into these lows. Again, the move to the upside has been very, very corrective. So that is a very strong characteristic of just a correction, and we're looking to anticipate the continuation. So very, very bearish on pound yen in the higher time frames. Let me just add back that level, so we can keep that as a reference. So the plan is to try and find the next lower high to keep shorting this one. And it's been a bit of a slow turn. You can see the lower highs the market's been printing here very steadily, but hopefully now we start to pick up the pace a little bit. Again, if I draw the fib from the high to the low, again, this is the current low. Potentially might open the week a little bit more bearish, but wherever that low does form, I'm looking to see if we can get the retest of this area, which kind of lines up pretty well with the 0.5 or even better, the 0.618. So if you can get a correction into this area, looking for entries to short it back at least into the low, but back into that daily low will be the bigger target I'll look to play. So very bearish on pound yen, expecting more downside, bearish on yen pairs in general. I think, yeah, now dollar yen, I'm pretty bearish on that one as well. So all yen pairs expecting more downside, just waiting for clean opportunities. Pound yen does look a little bit corrective in this area here, so it would be nice if you can pick up the pace a little bit and maybe get a slightly bigger leg to retrace. But more or less, if we do see some upside early next week, that'd be great. Find some lower highs, shorts around 190.5, 191, and targets longer term back into 182.9. And that is the play for pound yen next week. Okay, so on to gold. So momentum is still very bullish. However, it looks like we're starting to fade at the highs there. So maybe price is falling a bit of a top, and we could be seeing a bit of retracement for price. Now, I'm not really interested in selling gold. I know all-time highs, it's due retracement, so there is some logic there. But again, I'm very much looking to continue momentum. That's very much the plan or the idea I'm looking to play in the markets. So when I'm seeing signs that momentum is about to fail, it could either mean we form a bigger consolidation before continuing, or maybe prices forming a bit of a top to, again, with gold, I'm never expecting necessarily a top, but just a bigger pullback before continuing the trend at a later date. So that's really my take on gold. It looks like price is stuck between support and resistance and getting ready for its next move, and it might just start to consolidate throughout the next week or even longer than that as well. So in terms of opportunities, I want to see price either show me that the buyers are back in control. A strong break of the high will look really good. Again, some pullbacks, again, intraday look good. Right into the next big psychological level, which is all the way back at, well, 2900 just above us. But we do have 3K in our sights there. Probably not looking to trade it all the way there in one go, but that could be something to look at, maybe hold a small position to run to. But I think 2900 just above us is probably a realistic target, especially for a lower time frame trade. If price does go and break support, then we probably do have a bit of bearish structure to play with, and there could be some nice short-term sell opportunities for gold back into the prior high. So looking for the retest of 27.89. Both look like good opportunities. I'd probably only just focus on the buys because, again, my plan is to look to continue momentum rather than go against it, especially the market is as bullish as gold. Again, it doesn't mean I don't only take pro trend trades. I will look for counter trend trades as well, but given the condition of what gold is doing, this is not the best climate for counter trend trades at the moment, at least for me anyway. So yeah, gold forming a bit of support and resistance stuck between the two. So in theory, kind of just ranging right now. Need price to show momentum in either direction. Then we can look for continuations off that, either a retest of the high at 28.83 or the retest of the low at 28.40 and short it back down to that prior high there at 27.89. So that's the plan next week for gold. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's still consolidating. We've got equal highs up here, we've got equal lows down here, and price is still dancing between these two levels. So you need price to commit into direction. So the analysis hasn't really changed much in the past, at least a couple of months now, since the range has kind of started. So again, we've got, if we zoom out to the higher time frame, the weekly chart, we can see the overall trend for Bitcoin is still very bullish. However, we're in an area of consolidation. It's either the market's getting ready to pull back and have a bigger correction, perhaps to retest this prior level here. We had a massive breakout, didn't really come back for a retest. Maybe price is working its way towards that, or price is just pausing before, again, we see a big breakout and we see another bullish wave, back to 120k, the all-time highs, maybe 130, who knows. But what is clear to see, what is definitely a fact right now, is that Bitcoin is stuck between resistance and support, and we are consolidating. So we need price to break out of that. So in terms of opportunities, there's multiple ways you can play it. Either wait for price to break the highs, look for retest above that, wait for price to break the lows, look for retest below that, of course. You can either look to play within the range as well, look to buy and sell as price comes back to test the low of the range, look for entries there to take it back up again, even look to take some shorts at the high as well. The best play that I would look to take here for Bitcoin is definitely a continuation play. Either price coming back to the low of the range there, which is a bit more aggressive, and look for some buys there, anticipating to catch the breakout, or wait for price to actually break out and then look for the retest. Either which way, looking for buying opportunities. Of course, if you do break the consolidation to the downside, I would be interested in shorts as well, but we can talk about that when that actually happens. For now, still in the range, so buys still look good at the low, which is around 92k, 91k. And of course, if we do get the breakout, which is probably a little bit a big ask for price to do that next week, but then it is Bitcoin, we could do that in a couple of days if price really wanted to. So I'm not going to rule that out, but this is more likely the opportunity you probably see next week. We're not too far away, could see price roll over, test that low, find some nice buys to take it back into the high, and see if we can catch the breakout. And if we do break the low, then we can start speaking about some shorts. But for now, this is the opportunity that I'm focused on next week for Bitcoin. And finally, onto our bonus pair, which for this week is Euro Aussie. So haven't been a big fan of this pair because it's been very choppy, but it looks like we're starting to see momentum. Momentum is what gets my attention, and we're starting to break out of the consolidation, which is the key thing I've been looking for Euro Aussie since we kind of got to this area here, which is coming back to retest this prior daily high here on the left, because the market has been essentially ranging. We've got really powerful support down at these lows, massive resistance back at the highs there, tested it once, of course, massive breakout, but now again we're struggling at that same high. And I've been saying if price does manage to break out that consolidation to the downside with some nice momentum, which looks like we're seeing evidence of that happening, I'll probably still wait for a little bit more momentum before I do look to take any opportunities. But the idea is a strong breakout of this range here, then essentially looking for pullbacks on the way back down into the low here, because all we've been doing is ranging, and essentially what price is signaling to us, breaking outside the consolidation, is that we're not breaking through the high. And if price is not going to break through the high of the range where we're going, most likely back to the low. So I am anticipating a lot more downside for Euro Aussie. It looks like we're doing the same for Euro NZD as well. It looks like we're breaking out there. Pound NZD, Pound Aussie both look pretty bearish as well. I'm expecting a bit more downside for them. So all those pairs, which are pretty much very highly correlated with each other, all looking bearish, which is a really strong sign that we're probably going to see a bearish move. Of course, nothing's guaranteed, but it's a good sign to see. So yeah, Euro Aussie looking pretty bearish, breaking out. As I said, I want to see a bit more momentum before I do start looking for pullbacks, because we've only just about broken through. So I want to see price kind of push on a little bit further, but then the plan very much is looking for pullbacks, perhaps the retest of the range. We'll see if we can get something like that. But the idea is just looking for continuations. Really textbook range there, clean break through the low. Something like this looks good. Even if you can short it just back down into the prior low, wherever that forms, that look like a great trade, and you can always leave some positions to run. But the longer term move, I'm looking for a push back into 1.6. So yeah, that is the plan next week for Euro Aussie. Keep an eye on the break and retest. But yeah, guys, that does take us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Elevating Trades Discord channel, completely free to join. Link to that in the description below. You can find out more information about Elevating Traders, chat to other traders there, chat with myself, share opportunities, join the community if you are interested. Drop a comment down below any pairs you're looking to trade next week. I'm interested to find out. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day, great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the new week.